Welcome to WANM Sports presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show, our weekly conversation with the man who makes the calls for the Rattlers. I'm your host, Calvin Sykes, and joining me is FAMU football head coach Willie Simmons. Coach, thank you again for joining us yet another week.
As always, it's a pleasure, Calvin.
So FAMU pushed its winning streak to 7 games in a row over a 24-12 victory over Morgan State. Now this record puts you guys at 7-1 overall and 5-0 in the MEAC. So what are some positive takeaways from the game on Saturday?
Well, obviously the first positive takeaway, aside from getting the win on the road, is the fact that we were able to do it with the backup quarterback. You know, of course, Ryan Stanley went down the week before against North Carolina A&T, and Rashawn McKay had to step in for him in this game. And he came in and performed extremely well, going 25 of 35. Almost 250 yards and a touchdown. And so I thought he handled himself well on the road, really distributed the ball really well. We had 6 different receivers catch passes and, did a really good job. And defensively played lights out, held Delaware State to 10 points. And special teams-wise, got to clean up a couple of things, but overall, really good team win. Again, always tough to win on the road. But the guys did what they needed to do, and again, puts us at 7-1, 5-0 in conference play.
So after the game, you mentioned that you were obviously happy that you got the win, but there weren't things that happened in the game that you weren't pleased with. So what were those things, and how are you going to implement to fix them during the week?
Well, the first thing, special teams-wise, got another punt block, which resulted in a safety for Delaware State. So definitely have to clean up those details. That's the 3rd block in 3 weeks, and so obviously. When you have the best punter in the nation, which we do in Chris Fadul, you want to give him the opportunity to punt the ball off and allow him to kick the ball almost 50 yards and flip the field. So we definitely have to clean that up. Had a couple of big returns, their kick return against our return coverage. So, again, we have to definitely clean those things up. And other than that, we had 1 turnover on offense, which was okay. I think we got 2 on defense. So, again, still getting more turnovers than we're giving up. I think we're plus 6 or 7 on the year now in turnover margin, which is a pretty good number. And then the other thing we probably got to clean up is 3rd down conversions. We were only 6 or 17. So clean those little things up. I think we give ourselves a chance to be a really, really good football team.
So McKay kind of held his own throughout the whole game, throwing 1 touchdown and 250 yards there. So what was your overall, grade or for his performance?
I thought he played really well. The 1 interception, we put him in a bad situation. Of course, it's 3rd and 30, and so the young guy has to understand that
Yeah.
you're not going to, more times than not, you're not going to get 30 yards back on a throw. And so check the ball down. Again, give the best punter in the nation a chance to punt the ball and flip the field. But he learned from that, and didn't make that mistake again. But, got the ball out on time. Made pretty good throws when he needed to. Stood tall in the pocket, which for a young guy says a lot. And like I said, when you can distribute the ball to that many different receivers, you look at Xavier Smith, I think 6 or 7 catches. Wow. George Well, 5 catches. Marcus Williams, 4 catches. Kamari Young, 4 catches. Zende Ray, had 3 or 4 catches. And so, again, did a really good job of getting the ball around, which means he was seeing the entire field. And so just happy with the way he performed overall in his first start. And also happy with the way Ryan was engaged into the game, being his cheerleader / coach on the field, so to speak.
So that's actually now what I want to talk about because after every drive, Ryan and Stanley and McKay kind of was going back and forth over, what the Bears defense put forth. So just kind of talk about his leadership, actually being active in the game and into it despite him not being on the field.
Well, that shows the sign of a true leader. When Ryan wanted to play as bad as anyone, and had we told him had we allowed him to play, he would have. But understanding the situation, understanding it's bigger than him even at this point, he took the role as, again, the backup for this game, and did what we always talk to our team about, which is be unselfish, stay engaged into the game, help the guys that are on the field playing with things that they may not see that you see on the sideline. So that when Rashawn came off the field every time, it wasn't necessarily me or Coach Black, his position coach, that he went to first. Many times it was Ryan Stanley, the guy who had been playing all season, who kind of has a good feel for the offense and knows what the other teams are trying to do to stop it. And that really helped Rashawn settle down and know that you have the leader of the offense in your ear every time you come off the field.
And I think this also shows a true testament to the staff you put together because Kenneth Black, first time here, leading that position group. So just talk about kind of what made you want to bring him here and how has he helped the overall positional group of the quarterbacks?
Well, KJ has been a godsend to us. Last year as the head coach and basically play caller, I was working with the quarterbacks. And as you can imagine, that put a lot on me, trying to coach a position, trying to run the offense, and trying to be the leader of the entire football team. It was very draining at times. And so when the opportunity came, when we lost Coach Joe Henry, who was coaching the running backs during training camp, I felt it was necessary to bring in a quarterbacks guy to kind of free me up a little bit more. And so Coach Black and I worked together at Prairie View for 3 years. He knows my offense. I know how he coaches quarterbacks and the expertise he brings. And so it was a great opportunity for both of us. He was coaching tight ends at Prairie View, so he wanted to get back in the quarterback room. I gave him the opportunity to come and coach quarterbacks. And so, again, it's been a blessing to him, but also to this program. He's done a tremendous job, not only with Ryan, but as you can see, with Rashawn, the other quarterbacks, and also helping me with game day adjustments and seeing things from the press box.
So I know one of your weekly goals is always a balanced offense, 246 yards for passing and 117 rushing. So was that goal accomplished this week?
Well, we still aren't running the ball as well as I like. I like to get closer to the 180, 200-yard mark as a team, and we haven't hit that mark all year. So, we're still challenging the offensive line to continue to come together to do a better job of sustaining blocks. We have 2 freshman running backs right now, with Bishop being out. So you have Terrell Jennings, who's a true freshman, starting the game. Then you have Devon Bo Kendrick, who's a redshirt freshman, coming in subbing for him. So they're still learning the college game. Game's still slowing down for those guys. And once they get their feet up underneath them, I think they're going to be really good running backs. And I think we're long overdue for that breakout rushing attack, and hopefully we'll see it this week.
So kind of on the stat sheet, one of the things that took out to me was 13 penalties out of 121 yards. So how do you clean that going forward?
Well, a lot of them were just, undisciplined penalties. The pass interferences, I think a couple of times we kind of panicked when the ball was in the air. We were in really good position and just kind of reached out and grabbed the guy when we didn't need to. And so definitely have to talk to the DBs about just not panicking, playing the ball, playing their man. We had a false start on offense, which, again, those are unacceptable. But, again, I don't look at the overall number of penalties. I look at the pre- and post-snap penalties. So false starts, illegal procedures, things like that, personal fouls, things that happen after the play. And so pass interference, we're gonna get those. We'll take those. A holding call, we'll take those. But it's the offsides, the neutral zone infractions, the illegal substitutions, the delay of games. Those are the type of penalties that keep you up at night, because that means that we're not focusing and locking in and doing the things that need to be done during the play. We're having self-inflicted wounds either before the play even starts or after the play is finished, and that's a recipe for disaster.
So David Menigo and Bishop Bonham did not travel for the game. Do you have any updates on them? Will they be back for the season or?
Well, they'll be back for the season. They're not out for the year. We're definitely continuing to rehab those guys, and they're both game day decisions, game time decisions for this week's game. And so, we're fortunate to have a lot of depth. We built up depth over 2 years, especially at our offensive skill position. So at running back, really deep, so don't have to rush Bishop back. At wide receiver, we've shown that we're extremely deep, not having to rush Manigo back, nor Chad Hunter for that matter. And so it's always good when you have other guys who are waiting in the wings who can come in and keep the production up. Same thing at quarterback. We're playing Rashawn, being able to rest Ryan. Had we not had a solid number 2 quarterback, we'd probably rush Ryan back to play in that game and further risk injury. So that's the sign of a good football team, a good program, is that you have quality depth so that when guys go down, there's not a significant drop-off in production.
It's time now for a break. And when we get back, Coach Simmons, his thoughts on the upcoming matchup against the Delaware State Hornets. This has been the WANM Presents, the Coach Willie Simmons Show. This is the WANM Sports Presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show. I'm Calvin Sykes, and Coach Simmons is posted in the hot seat. So now the Rattlers take on the 1-7 Delaware State Hornets team on Saturday. How big of an impact is the support for fans, seeing that they probably feel like this is an easy win for you guys?
Well, the one thing that I think is important to understand is that there's no such thing as an easy win.
Okay.
And when you take teams for granted, that's when you get in trouble. And so for us, we have a motto that every game is the biggest game of our lives. This game against Delaware State is the biggest game that I've ever coached in.
Okay.
It's the biggest game that these guys have ever played in. It's the biggest game that our fans will ever see. Why is that? Because it's the next game that we get to play.
Okay.
We're not guaranteed anything beyond this Saturday. Our focus can't be on anything past this Saturday. And that's the way you prepare to go out and play your best. And every time we take the field, we have a responsibility to represent Florida A&M in a first-class manner. And so that means putting a good product on the field. That means being disciplined. That means taking advantage of situations. And so, we do those things, that we take care of the little things, pay attention to detail, don't go out and beat ourselves. I think we have a really good chance to beat this football team and continue our quest to be the best team in black college football. But again, we can't take the mindset that it's not an important game. This is a conference game. And even last year, you look at it, the same Morgan State team that we just beat last week beat North Carolina A&T.
Wow.
in Greensboro. And so this league has shown that on any given Saturday, you can be beat. And we want to make sure that we keep laser focused, that we're not a team that allows a 1-7 team who wants to come in to play spoiler to upset us on our home surface.
So typically, during the week, scouting report is given on Sunday. So kind of give me, what does the scouting report about this Hornets team that's coming into Bragg on Saturday?
Well, the one thing, they do have the preseason MEAC Defensive Player of the Year in Brian Cavalcanti. And so, they're a talented group of guys. This is a team that last year won their last 3 ball games.
Wow.
And so while we were going through our 3-game demise, they were winning their last 3. And so we can't for 1 second, again, believe that these guys are going to lay down. They're going to have a lot of fight. They're coached by an alum. Rod Milstead played at Delaware State. And so anytime you have a guy coaching the team who played at their university, he's going to bring a lot of pride and love into that program. And so, those guys are going to play with pride. They're going to play with a lot of passion. We got to make sure we match their intensity. But, again, they have 11 guys on offense, defense, special teams just like we do. They have, 63 scholarship athletes just like we do. And so, again, we can't think for 1 second that, this team is inferior, because a lot of times their record doesn't always reflect, what type of team they are.
Well, Ron Millerstapp kind of coming in and changing this program. Now, I kind of want to take you back to last year, since he's trying to change the face of the program. So what were some challenges, coming into a new program and making it yours?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that, the vast majority of the team are guys that you didn't recruit.
Wow.
And so, we didn't sit in the parents' homes. We didn't really get to know a lot of these guys on a personal level. We inherited these players from all over the state of Florida, all over the Southeast. And so it's about really getting to know each guy, understanding what motivates them, understanding what makes them tick, being able to coach them in a way that gets the most out of them. And that's a tall task for anybody. And really trying to instill the culture or your blueprint of what you want the program to look like. And getting those guys to fall in line with that. And so that's a challenge to every coach, especially new coaches coming in.
Wow.
But I think that's a challenge to every coach year to year, because each team is different, no matter if you have a lot of returning starters or not so many returning players on the team. Each year poses a new set of challenges, and for us it's always about continuing to buy in and believe in the culture that we're trying to instill on a daily basis.
When we return, we'll get to know the man behind the headphones. This has been a WANM Sports presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show. All right, Coach, welcome back. So now, kind of, I would say, positive/negative, depending on who you ask. Kalen Timmons announced decided to transfer into the portal. So now I kind of want to know, on the administration side, what does the transfer portal look like for players and coaches on that tip?
Well, the transfer portal is a way to kind of circumvent the processes that were involved in transferring in years past. Back even as far as last year and years prior, well, if a student athlete desired to transfer, he had to go and talk to the coach. He had to apply for a release from his scholarship if he's on aid, from the team if he's a member of the team. Whereas now it's a smoother transition. He enters the portal. We have a 24 hours or 48 hours to respond.
Okay. And
if we don't, then he's basically a free agent. Free to shop himself around. So, again, I think in today's climate and society, in the landscape of college football, we have to understand that every individual has the right to do what they feel is best. Okay. And, Kalen Timmons has been a welcome addition to this football team. He's battled some injuries and things like that that's prohibited him from being able to contribute on the football team. But if he feels like it's best for him to test the waters and see if there's, if he can find a home that gives him a chance to accomplish his goals, then we support that 100%. So we give Kalen our best, and again, he knows that if he needs anything from us, we're right here for him. But that's the decision that he's had to make for his team. For himself and for his family, and we support that. But again, I have 105 other guys that I have to focus on coaching, making sure that they're getting ready to play and doing the right things on and off the field.
So now in the recruiting cycle, that's kind of gotten big, really within the past, I would say, year and a half, kind of with that. So what does that look like more on the coaching side if you're looking for a particular player, particular position group?
Well, the transfer portal is no different than any transfer. Okay. So if it's a typical 4-year transfer or even 2-year transfer, you look at what you need and how each individual fits in the grand scheme of what you need. There's certain positions where we feel like we have enough depth and quote-unquote star power where we want to sign a high school kid and develop that individual so that he can be a player in the future. There are other times where you feel like you maybe don't have as much depth as you would like, where you feel like you got to bring some older guys in who may be able to come in and play right away. Every now and then you get in a situation where you lose a really good player and you don't feel like you may necessarily have his replacement here on campus, so you go out and try to find a transfer who that can come in and play right now. And so there's a methodology to the whole recruiting process, whether you take high school, 2-year transfer, or 4-year transfer. And, we've done a pretty good job here in evaluating, but it all comes down to the evaluation. It all comes down to making sure that the guys are a good fit culturally, philosophically with what you're trying to do. And the biggest thing at Florida A&M is one, making sure that they can not only get in school, but stay in school. Because, again, the worst thing in the world is to bring a guy in and academically he's gone in a year or 6 months because he can't do the work. And so all of that plays a part in the evaluation process. And there's a lot of things behind the scenes that the typical fan never sees.
So was that the same process that brought Calvin Ashley here?
Kind of, sort of. Calvin's a guy that I had some prior I have relationships throughout the state of Florida, being that I'm from here. People who know Calvin, who have known Calvin mainly his whole life. And so when he made a decision to transfer, we were reached out to by some of those individuals. And so at that point, we began the recruitment process to try to get him on campus and see if it was a good fit. And but that's no different than Marquise Bell. That's no different than Cameron Smith or Monroe Watson. Jalen Spade is a little bit closer to home because his dad actually coaches on the staff. But with all the transfers, it's all about making those early contacts and really starting to do your research again to make sure that they're the right person to bring into your program.
So on the sidelines, I find it interesting that Ralph Street doesn't use headphones, seeing that you guys have a personal relationship. What is his coaching style like, seeing that he doesn't use headphones and he's active every drive with his players?
Well, again, each coach has their own coaching style. And one of my biggest things when I hire guys is to coach within their personality. And Ralph has been like that since he's been a coordinator. And this is his 5th year as my defensive coordinator. And but again, the coaches on the sideline with him do a really good job of conveying the information to him. And that's really what you have headsets on for, is to get information from the press box, seeing personnel, down and distance, things of that nature, situations. And so the coaches who are on the field, Ryan Smith, Brandon Sharp, those guys do a phenomenal job of relaying information to him so that he can make the calls in his head. And so it's been successful for us. We've had, one of the top defenses in this conference over the last 2 years. And there's old saying that if it's not broke, don't fix it. And right now what we're doing defensively isn't broken. And I don't see the need to start nitpicking it and trying to tweak it, to change what we're doing.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for your time this week and best of luck against the Delaware State Hornets. This has been the WANM Presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show.